Hello, this is Ruby, and today we're going to talk about the mean. And in particular, we're going to talk about how to do a problem that has three different parts using the equation that you have become very familiar with. And that equation is just what's written right here in red. The mean equals the sum of x over n. And essentially, you have a problem here at the top of the page. A sample of n equals 8 score has a mean of 10. So you would think of that as being your first problem where you're going to have to find the sum of x. So that's going to be the first problem that you have. Then you're going to have a second problem, which is after one score is removed from the sample, the mean for the remaining scores is found to be 11. So that would be the second part of your problem. And then finally, the last part of your problem, and the problem that you would have to find the final answer for, was what score was removed. So this is broken down into three separate problems. All right, so what do? Well, for the first part of this, what you're going to do is you're going to use your equation. So your equation is mean equals the sum of x over n. So we have your equation right here. And then what you're going to do is you're going to substitute what you know as your knowns. So what you have as knowns are the mean equals 10 and the sample size equals 8. So you're going to go ahead and substitute for m 10, and for n you're going to substitute 8. Then what you're going to do is, by algebra, what we know is that in order to get a value to drop out, we multiply it by itself. So we have in the denominator the sum of x, we have the sample size, which is 8. We're going to multiply that by 8. We're going to do that on both sides. On the one side, which is on the right-hand side, it will drop out. And so we'll end up with the sum of x equals 80. All right, so that solves our first step. So that's our first answer, is that we have 80. So that's our first answer. Then for the second step, we have the second sentence, which is after one score is removed from the sample, the mean for the remaining scores is found to be 11. So now what we're going to do is we're going to take our problem, and we know the mean is 11 because one score was removed. But we also have to think about that we do have one score removed. So that's going to change our value of n. We're no longer going to have 8 as our value of n, but we're going to have 8 minus 1, which equals 7. So now we're going to have that the mean is equal to 11 and n is equal to 7. So our third step would be to figure out what is the value for the sum of x given that the mean is 11 and our sample size is 7. So once again, we use the equation that we all know and we have been using, which is the mean equals the sum of x over n. We're going to go ahead and substitute what we know. So we know that 11 equals the mean, and we know that 7 equals n. So we're going to go ahead and substitute those in. Then by algebra, we're going to go ahead and multiply each side by 7. And we're doing that so we can get rid of the denominator here. And so then we can just isolate the sum of x. So we have the sum of x equals 77. So that's the second part of this particular problem is completed. Now finally, the last step is we have to figure out the value of the score that was removed. So in order to figure out what that value is, we need to subtract the original sum of x, which is equals 80, from the sum of x that you computed in the second part of this particular problem, and that was 77. So you subtract 80 from 77 and you get 3. So 3 is your final answer. So your final answer to this, and this would also be the third step, so the final answer to this is 3. So what we know is that we have to break this up into 3 parts, which we've done, and we end up with a final answer of 3. All right, thank you and have a good day. Bye-bye.